Everybody remembers, or by now has heard of, the Great Blizzard of 1978 and all the problems it caused in southern New England. But many of you may not remember or may never have heard of the weather event in that same era that was, in some ways, just as disruptive as the Great Blizzard. It happened the month before the Great Blizzard, in January of 1978. 35 years ago today, January 21st, 1978, Rhode Island was still recovering from an ice storm that took down so many power lines that electricity was out for many days. Longer power outages than the Great Blizzard that began on February 6th that same year. Here's today's flashback.
Rhode Island was digging out after a big snowstorm, a snowstorm that also caused a lot of ice to form on trees and power lines. When was the last time you saw piles of snow this big in downtown Providence?
By now, most of us have said, when will it ever end? We have been iced on, rained on, and now snowed on. And the worst may be yet to come.
Hey, did this guy have some inside information? Charles Johnson probably had no way of knowing that the worst was indeed yet to come, in the form of the Blizzard of '78, several weeks later. 1 year later, January 21st, 1979, another big storm. But this time it was so warm it might have come down as snow, but it melted quickly and resulted in severe flooding. Roads were shut down in some cases.
Yep, a real case of weather extremes in 2 consecutive years on the same date in the late 1970s. And maybe you noticed from that footage from 1978, City of Providence DPW crews got rid of snow quite easily by dumping it into the Providence River. Wow. And it was something they continued to do until the early 1980s, until the EPA said that the practice was unsafe and told them to stop it. Buddy Cianci made note of that in his book, Politics and Pasta. He said, try to figure that out. We got penalized for dumping water into the river.
Water.
Yeah, it's probably the cleanest stuff in the Providence River at that time, if you remember how polluted it was back then. Anyway, that's Flashback. It's